right, so this video is going to talk about selections. We're going to look at how they get set up, how the client chooses which item they like, how the client can propose items if they find something that they want to include but it wasn't originally talked about. And lucky last, we're going to look at how you bill the client, which is probably more accurately said as how you take the original budget for an item and substitute it with the chosen item's cost and how that all gets kind of settled. So into my account here, first thing to touch on with selections is a lot of parts of Buildxact have this category subcategory or 2-level structure. Selections is one of the very few that has 3 levels, and I'm just going to expand them all and talk to you about it. So we have category, we have description, and we have options. So we do it this way because we want the client to have their selections kind of grouped by, is it tiles, is it appliances, is it flooring, is it whatever. And then we have the sub item, which is what specifically are they choosing. And then we have the options, which are what are we giving them as far as things to choose from. So options, you can just go add, and have as many as you like. Now, you can absolutely manually set this up. You can also have it automatically set up for you, which is the default setting. So if I go back to my estimate and into my appliances, I selected these two as PC items, and that's how they got automatically added to my selections. And the logic here is that if you indicated it up front, it was an allowance, then it at some point probably has to get chosen. And hence we put it automatically into the selections area. All right, so that's how we set them up initially. And I'm just gonna go add a few options here. So let's just say cooktop. If you've watched some of my other videos, you're probably used to my little side tours, but here's one here. The items you can add do pull from your catalogs. So this is particularly useful if you have connected with a supplier or you have your own range catalogs loaded. As a bonus to this, if there is a catalog that has a catalog item that has an image associated with it, much like how specifications work, we take the image from that and put it into here automatically. So for simplicity, I'm going to go cooktop 1, and oops, each of those costs, let's say $1,200. The allowance price in this case came from the raw cost back in the estimate. So why this is useful is we're comparing what the item would cost against what the original budget was, so the client gets a comparison. I'm going to add another one, cooktop 2. If you are looking at this and you're going, wow, there's actually a little bit of setup, I should absolutely mention that you can create templates for this, which is another way of doing it. That's really useful in the case that your jobs are repeatable, and you're generally going to recommend from one of 3 ovens or one of 3 cooktops or tapware, tiles, etc. Absolutely save templates if you need to, and that's a quick way to set this up. Awesome, put that in there. This can be 1,300. Perfect. And images, if you are adding them manually, you just click in and find a file that you've got and put it in. Personally, if you are doing this manually, I would probably steal them from the supplier's website. And as a bonus point, as within the estimates, there's a extra notes line. So you could potentially put the website address of the item or the model number or anything else that the client would find useful. So in this case, I'm just going to say, I recommend this one. Perfect. Last point before we go and see what the client sees, there is a deadline date. So if I say like that, this is really just giving the client a guide as to when we need this selected by. They'll see it on their side, and the idea is that if they know that tiles have to be done by this date, appliances by this date, we're trying to keep the project on time and this is how they are alerted of that. Awesome. Let's go ahead and share this to the client. So right now it's just saying ready to share, ready to share. And there are other options in here, which I'll come back to, but for now, let's actually share it to them. A side point, I've already invited my client to this client portal. So sharing is not the first time inviting them, it's just sharing the information to them. It's going to yell at you when you have shares to go through, and it'll say share changes. One thing I really like about this sharing process is it tells you the summary. So especially if there's lots of selections, the issue is, well, what do we want? Like, what are you wanting to share, Buildxact? What's the new thing that you want to tell the client about? And it'll always have a summary so you can check that before you share it to the client. Bonus point, covered also in the client portal video itself. You can preview the client portal, which is great to know what the client sees. I'm going to share that, and I've cheated a little bit. I've actually got myself set up as the client, so I can show you it. So let's go selections, refresh that. The main difference between what I'm able to do here versus what you'll be able to do if you preview it. If you preview a portal, you can't select the item because that's the client's job. You cannot send messages because that would be messaging yourself, and that's a bit silly. So I've got a bit more freedom than you will. I'm just hence based on the way I set it up. But the preview, as mentioned, is the great way to know what they're seeing, what they're understanding. So how do they choose stuff? Well, first of all, the categories that we defined will be listed here. So there might be 5, 10, 15 categories. They'll click in and they'll see a list of all of the items under that. And then under that, they see the options. Pretty simple to select. They go select, item selected successfully. They can substitute it. They can swap them and select other items up until you confirm that. They can also request things. Now, if they go request, they're prompted to send information, photos, model numbers, as much as possible. And if I do this as an example, let's just say client option for cooktop. It is $9.50, one of those each. Additional information I'll leave for now. Send request. That goes requested. And I just want to highlight that you're going to get a number of alerts on the jobs tab as these things happen. So I'm already in the selections, hence I can see these alerts as well. The two alerts I just got, one was a selection was made, and one was that an item was requested. So if let's just refresh that. Typically you'll be in another page when this happens, so there's no need to refresh. Go here, open it all up again. So there's one selected and there's one pending approval. So this next bit is now me talking about like how do you respond to it. So if it's selected, the next step will be to actually process it, which I'll talk about, and that's under the billing the client topic that I mentioned at the start. If there's a pending approval, then you get to confirm it. You can reject it. If I'm doing this, often I'll go straight to selected if the client's suggested that and I'm happy with it. But there is confirmed as well, which shows them a confirmed status. The reason we have rejected as an option is the client might pick something that is no way going to fit, and we get to have control over that. So anything they request on top of what we've listed is basically a question to us to check it out and see if it's going to work and let them know. Awesome. Now let's go through to the last part of how do I settle these costs. And as with a lot of things Buildxact, there's a number of ways you could handle this. I should just reject that first of all. There's a number of ways you can handle this. It's going to be done as a add variation button. But the when you do it is kind of up to you. So what add variation does is picks up all the selected items and puts them into one big variation to settle. So to that point, you might go, hey, each time they do a selection, we put it through to a variation. And if you're doing that, it might be because you want them to digitally sign each change as well, which you can do. We have some users that go, I'm just going to let them pick them all. And then once everything's picked, I'll bulk variation them all. And that just settles the difference between all the selections in one lump sum. Both are good. It's just personal preference. So let's go do the variation now. And just before I forget, I should mention as well, we do get requests for people to be able to export this screen. That is completely possible. This is a great little summary if you need like a printed copy of this, or you want to keep track of it, export it for another reason. That's absolutely an option. But let's go do variation. It's going to say, we're going to create a variation. Are you sure? You should definitely know that you're sure at this point, because once you go yes, it's going to turn it into a variation and it'll have a think. There we go. It does two things, in fact, three. It locks this selected item so client can't change it. We get that little green pop-up confirmation I had my mouse on a second ago, and it also goes into the variation. So you can click on this and it takes you through to the variation. Now there's a whole other video just on variations, so this bit I might be a bit kind of slim on and just overview it. But what we're looking at here is, if I'm in the variation, which I am, it just calls it new variation. So this is to the point of you might be doing all selections at once, or you might just be doing cooktop. Totally up to you, name it appropriately. Now, in the case where I had an allowance for this item originally, it credits that amount. The reason it's doing this is it wants to know the difference between the two. So if the budget was 1,000, they pick one that's 1,200. They owe the extra money. They don't owe the entire 1,200. Note, and kind of a word of caution here, if you've manually added selections, it doesn't know necessarily that it's linked to an original allowance. So sometimes you may need to add this minus line in if there is money to be kind of money that was originally in the budget for this thing. Sometimes the selection is just above and beyond, and it is true that they are paying the full amount. So just as I've probably said in other videos, choose the right one for your situation. Now, I'm not going to touch on all the variation points because there's a whole other video on how to issue and bill for these. The only other point I will touch on is if I go save and share, that's where I can get the client's digital signature. And this goes to the point of if you really want to have a hard confirmation from the client that, yes, I accept this change, you can create the variation for it and have them digitally sign it. And that will give you that, that proof that, yes, they're okay with it. Versus if they are just going, yes, I approve, you'll just get the alerts back into Buildxact, but they haven't actually signed anything. So as always, choose what suits you as far as coverage for, if the client turns around and says, I didn't say that, we've got options to kind of meet, whichever way you want to address it. Lucky last on digital signatures, and this is something that will be covered in the variation video anyway. If you do use digital signatures in the job section, they go under job details and you'll get a whole list of signed documents, which you can use as evidence if that is needed. Awesome. Hope that makes sense. As always, any questions, let us know.